Rhonda, Lauren down here from the Herald Sun again. Just another quick one about Angela's question on equality just before. We've got quite a large pay dispute happening with our Australian women's soccer team at the moment. Is it frustrating for you as someone who's so prominent in your sport, and we heard you say on the Ellen show the other day you are the richest fighter in UFC, that sort of thing is still going on?
Hey guys, welcome back to YT News. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at some ridiculous feminists getting owned. But before we do, please consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this and much more. Click the bell icon too so that you can get notifications for this channel. Now, let's get started with the video. Number 1. We kick things off with a clip that teaches all of us that we should never assume something. The feminist we are about to see clearly needs to learn that lesson. This feminist was interviewing Judge Judy, and the feminist assumed that Judge Judy was a feminist, but what Judge Judy had to say surprised the feminist because she did not expect the reply she was going to get.
You talk about law school, and I think it's interesting to note because I think we're both feminists.
I never considered myself a feminist. All during my professional career, whether it be a lawyer or a judge, I never belonged to a woman's organization. I didn't want to be, I wasn't a woman lawyer. I was a lawyer who happened to be a woman. And I wasn't a woman judge. I was a judge who happened to be.
That was very naive of the feminist to just assume that just because Judge Judy was a woman, that she would be a feminist too. I mean, Judge Judy shut down that assumption very quickly. And secondly, what Judge Judy had to say was very true. She wasn't viewed as a female judge. She was simply just a judge. The feminist definitely got some egg on her face for that one. Number 2. We now have Peter Lloyd, who was on Sky News, and he was having a debate with a feminist. The feminist was complaining that men use words that offend women, and that it needs to stop. Lloyd was against the notion, and in fact, he had something to say that absolutely triggered the feminist.
Peter, I just want to get one final thought from you. Are there words that are used to describe men that offend you?
Not particularly, and if there are some I don't like, I certainly wouldn't want them banned, but it always goes back to that old adage, sticks and stones may break my bones, but there will always be something to offend a feminist.
Peter Lloyd.
No, that's just obnoxious.
Peter
Sorry,
Lloyd,
you have to give me a
I
chance
think we'll
to
let you
respond to
carry
that.
on this
That is
discussion.
ridiculous. No, hang on, I won't do your show again if you don't let me respond
Go
to
on,
that.
Kate, have a word.
Come on, that's ridiculous. I mean,
The feminist was going absolutely mad. She did not like what Lloyd had to say at all. She even threatened to not come back on the show if she was not given a chance to reply to what Lloyd said. Lloyd was having the time of his life. He had the biggest grin on his face as he watched the feminist have a complete meltdown. Number 3. Coming up next is a clip in which Ronda Rousey, which is the highest paid UFC fighter, gets asked a question about if she's frustrated that in other sports like soccer, women aren't getting paid as much as males are. And I think she regretted asking that question.
Rhonda, Lauren down here from the Herald Sun again. Just another quick one about Angela's question on equality just before. We've got quite a large pay dispute happening with our Australian women's soccer team at the moment. Is it frustrating for you as someone who's so prominent in your sport, and we heard you say on the Ellen show the other day you are the richest fighter in UFC, that sort of thing is still going on?
I bet the girl that asked the question expected Rousey to be on her side because she was a female. But little did she know that it would be quite the opposite. Rousey made an amazing point and said she felt like an athlete should be paid in proportion of how much money they bring in, not just get paid equally because of their gender.
I think that how much you get paid should have something to do with how much money you bring in. I'm the highest paid fighter not because Dana and Lorenzo wanted to do something nice for the ladies. They do it because I bring in the highest numbers. They do it because I make them the most money. And I think that the money that they make should be proportionate to the money that they bring in.
Number 4. The whole point of an interview is to have a civilized conversation and get to see the perspective of people that have opposing ideologies. However, this feminist just threw all of that out the window when she started arguing with an interviewer about how they aren't talking about the important things. But when she gets asked about these important things, she seemingly knows nothing about them.
about North Korea. Let's talk precisely
Sunday
about
morning,
that. Do you
honestly.
think? Well, the fact that you don't know the French Foreign Minister's name.
Oh,
is a
okay, yeah.
Well, what about the South Korean president then? If we want to talk about North Korea, do you know the name of the South Korean?
Let me
president?
talk about
who's been talking about nuking Pyongyang.
Let me talk about North Korea.
But worth a call from Boris Johnson to the South Korean president, whose name I guess you don't know.
And the important point, which is about our security and world security, is that how we are going.
As you can see, this feminist wanted to be asked about what she claimed were the important topics, but shockingly, she knew nothing about them. Towards the end, she said that the questions the interviewer is asking are nonsense, when she was the one that brought them up.
Going to approach North Korea into the future.
All right, but how would we
And if you want
approach
me
the
to
South
go
Korean
with you
president?
to a pub tonight, and we can do a pub quiz tonight,
I'm not the
let's do
shadow
it.
foreign secretary.
You know, honestly.
I'm not the shadow foreign secretary. You know, I mean, we're talking about perhaps a global conflict here, and one nation
And the
threatening
important thing is
one nation threatening nuclear strikes on the other.
Yes.
Thought you might have been rather.
And I can tell you that I'm extremely interested in this, and I will talk about.
President is?
I will. I'm not getting drawn by you into this nonsense. I'm quite prepared to talk politics with you and to talk about the principles.
Okay, well, we will in a minute.
Number 5. This next feminist got really embarrassed by a news presenter when he asked her if she knew the name of the French foreign minister. She tried to deflect it by saying that she doesn't want to be pop quizzed, and then asked him again, and she admitted that she did not know the foreign minister's name.
But we're in the process of arranging for me to go to France and to Germany.
Do you know who he is?
Don't start pub quizzing me, don't start pub quizzing me.
He's the French foreign minister. Do you know his name?
No, and I'm not going to start answering your questions on this.
Well, it was just we had that while you were shadow defence secretary on DEFCON.
Do you know what really upsets me about your attitude to me is that you do this with me. I don't remember you doing it with.
She then started a huge rant about how the news presenter only does this to her and not other people. This woman knew she got exposed because she did not know something that was pretty much her job to know, and got humiliated in public and now decided to go on a bit of an attack. Number 6. We end things off with a feminist that was on Good Morning Britain, and she was complaining that there was a wage gap between men and women. There was another woman who was on as guest, and she was against the argument that there was a pay gap between the two genders. And you could see by the look on her face that she found the pay gap claim ridiculous. She shut down the claims with some conviction.
Does not mean two people standing side by side, one man, one woman, on a factory line, doing exactly the same job, and the man getting more. The way that the comparability of the pay gap is assessed is taking into account such things as women tend to work more part-time, then trying to take two completely separate jobs and say, well, what are the attributes required, and trying to get some sort of false comparability. Well, we've come to that point now, from a point in which you really could have two people side by side doing exactly the same thing, lawfully being paid completely different rates. Well, so I don't actually buy into this. Our problem is this. We've actually got equality and we don't know what to do with it. So now we want special favours like positive discrimination. Oh, bless us all.
This woman killed the feminist arguments about the pay gap. The woman made a lot of good points as to why there was a so-called pay gap and explained that it is not because of gender. And she also said that feminists are now making excuses and trying to get special treatment. Pierre Morgan seemed to be loving what she said. Which one of these feminists did you find the most ridiculous? Let us know down in the comments below. Thank you for tuning into today's video. If you enjoyed it, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this and much more. Click the notification bell too so that you don't miss out on any future videos. We will see you guys in the next one, but until then, take care.